The first duty of government is to protect our rights.
It's our job to maintain the proper role of government in what we were tasked to do.
Obviously, we over budgeted last year. I hate to say that I was right, but I was right. So.
And I think that that's what we need to look at more, is trying to get back to what we used to be, where our churches and our families took care of each other instead of relying on the state.
And we have no way to maintain control over the spending of this program, and it will be a disaster for this state long term.
But we have a whole gamut of kids whose parents would like to do something for them and they cannot.
I take our constitutional rights, the constitutional rights of my constituents, very seriously.
This is simply about putting it out of reach of young, innocent, vulnerable children and making our libraries and schools a safe place for them to go.
And I am increasingly frustrated that we cannot stop ourselves from drinking at the public trough.
He's sounding the alarm. He's saying if we don't address these issues, we potentially might have greater problems moving forward.
Mr. Speaker, no matter how you look at it, no matter how you boil this down, there is never any time that a parent's right to govern what their children see and what they're exposed to should ever be bypassed.
If I was looking at a business and I was looking at these figures, there would be heads rolling because this is unsustainable.
We're supposed to be bottom-up government. We're supposed to be representing my citizens' ideas and your citizens' ideas, and we're supposed to be discussing them and debating them to come to a conclusion.
We need to start making Idaho first. We need to start making America first.
We need to be protecting our First Amendment rights, not inventing ways to slowly chip away at them.
The First Amendment and our freedom of religion, freedom of speech are our first liberties. They are so important. We don't have the rest without them.
When I first hearing this problem last year, I thought it was a problem of us not having enough users, that we had not done that. There's a graph in there that shows the population of Idaho. Do you have that graph? I don't have a copy of it. There's a graph that I had Legislative Services Office put together a little bit of information.
All right, everybody. All eyes are on the Idaho Senate this morning. Right now, they're debating House Senate Bill 1197, which is an appropriation, a budget bill for the Idaho State Police. We'll pay attention to that. But of course, the big giant news is on Saturday morning, about an hour before it was set to become law, the Idaho Medical Freedom Act was vetoed by Governor Brad Little. Just before. I mean, if he didn't sign it, it would have just come into law. But instead, he decided to go ahead and veto it. He issued a veto letter. We'll get to that in a moment. But that's what we're paying attention to today. So so all eyes are on the Senate because it is expected today, at some point today, that they will take up a veto override. They will vote on whether or not to override the veto. So we've got all the details here. We're going to go through them to get you up to speed if you haven't been paying attention. And we're enjoying your weekend like normal people. The rest of us political wonks were just scrambling around trying to find what the heck was going on, who was going to vote for it, who was going to vote against it when it came to this morning. So welcome everybody. It is March 31st, the last day of March here in 2025. I am Matt Edwards, and you're watching Idaho Signal. Thank you so much for joining us. All last week, I was in Boise. It was great to be there. I was able to chime in a couple times on the broadcast throughout the week. But I thank you for sticking with us. It is now turning into a longer session than expected. They always hope to aim to get out by March, by the end of March. And here we are on the final day, and things are still moving very, very quickly as they try to get out of here. So we don't know if this will be the last week or next week will, but we'll catch up to speed there. Let's see. Over in the House, they are debating. Well, they're not really debating. They're sort of giving their accolades here and commending. Alex Adams was picked by the Trump administration to head over to work for the administration in some capacity, and so they have a joint memorial saying thank you to Alex Adams, and that the state has full support behind his activities. So anyway, he was the head of the Department of Health and Welfare here in Idaho. All right, so let's get to it, folks. This is the big news. Senate Bill 1023, the Idaho Medical Freedom Act, was vetoed by the governor. Now, just to give you up to speed exactly what this bill did, let's bring up some of those bullet points here and we'll go through them. This bill basically updated the Coronavirus Stop Act, which was already law, and this would expand the freedoms that we should have when it came to a coronavirus outbreak or some sort of intervention for coronavirus. This would just cover all medical interventions, and so this is what it did. These are the bullet points that we've been sharing. Broad prohibition on mandates for government, businesses, schools. They shall not require medical intervention to participate. And the reason why businesses are included in here is not because we want to tell businesses what to do. It's precisely the opposite. It's because businesses have been feeling pressure. They have been under threat of penalty if they don't go along with what the government is mandating or suggesting. Right? The government says you shall wear masks, you shall require a vaccine. And then businesses, if they fall under OSHA and all sorts of other government regulations, feel the need to push these mandates on you, and they don't want to. Some don't want to. Many don't want to. This is Idaho. Most of the businesses, especially small businesses and Idaho-based businesses, they don't want to do this. We don't want to do this to each other. So this bill would prohibit that from happening. So it actually gives business a cover. It says, look, the law says I can't do this no matter even if the government tries to mandate it at a federal level. So we're not going to comply with the demands from the federal government or anybody else. We're going to choose to do what we want to do. And so we are not going to comply. And so it's a pro-business bill. The other thing, of course, is it protects individual choice, safeguarding individual rights to ensure no one is compelled to go under medical treatments. It gives legal recourse. It provides for a civil cause of action for individuals who are harmed by violating this act. It also defines what medical interventions are. And this goes to a big part of what the governor's veto was, because in his letter, and we can go ahead and bring up that letter. I'm not going to read it verbatim here because I don't have it printed out in front of me. But this is the letter that was issued. You can go to the governor's website. I'm sure it's also been posted on X and Facebook and all over the place. But basically, the governor's big issue here was that he said that this bill may not allow for teachers or administrators to send somebody home if they're sick. And that's basically the crux of the letter. And if we go, yeah, there we go. There's his fancy signature at the bottom. But what's fascinating about this is that the bill doesn't do anything like that. In fact, it defines what a medical intervention is. And that is saying that you have to require and mandate that you undergo a medical intervention in order to participate at the school, whether it's being enrolled, whether it's being employed, whether it's simply entering the building for a function. We can't be doing that. I've seen some arguments from senators, especially during debate on this, is that it would eliminate the vaccine requirements for children to attend school. Well, even though there's a vaccine requirement per se to attend schools, there's also exemptions. And so if you're a parent that doesn't vaccinate your child for one or more, of the various things that are out there, you can simply file an exemption for no cost, for whatever reason. You don't even have to define a reason. You can just say, I want to be exempt from this. And so there really isn't a requirement to attend school. And this codifies that and says, and there won't be a requirement of medical intervention to attend school, because there already isn't. In Idaho, you can exempt from any sort of medical intervention when it comes to vaccines to send your child to school. And so that's where it stands now. So that it's really a moot point. It's a moot argument there to claim that this bill does that. Yeah. Okay. Let's go to the next slide here. Yeah, there we go. No emergency loophole. So even in a future crisis, a government cannot revert to mandating medical interventions without violating this law. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that is the entire point of this bill. It's about the future. It's about the future. You heard many people who were defending the status quo show up and say, well, what if there's something even more serious that comes down the line? What if there's something else that we don't even know comes down the line? We may need to institute 6 feet apart, or maybe 8 feet apart, or 10 feet apart, or 12 feet, or 2 miles apart. Like we may need to mandate masks. We may need to mandate full. What do they call it? Full body suits, right? We may need to mandate all sorts of things. Well, look, that's the whole point. No, you don't. There won't ever be a reason for you to violate my individual rights, right? That's right there, full stop. Okay. And like many people have said, especially during the pandemic, if acid rain was falling from the sky, like literal acid, and it burned your skin, you don't need to mandate people to not go outside and stand in the rain. Okay. Like we're going to do it. Like by and large, most people will do that. Won't go out there and do that. The intent of the bill is clear. This bill is a direct response to the reactions to the situations that we went through during the 2021 pandemic. And it was passed to remedy the trampling of our liberties. And it also, of course, has an obvious exemption for hospitals, which is a place where sick people are, where communicable diseases are treated. That is a place that is exempt from these mandates, and that is common sense. So there you go. So that's what this bill does. So as you can see, scrolling down at the bottom, along with the bills that have been the status of some bills, scrolling along at the bottom are the phone numbers of, and maybe we can do something where we can just have the phone numbers up. We don't need to be following those bills, because this is the big thing right now, folks. You need to call your senators. We're going to have the scrolling down below is the senators who voted no. These are the folks that voted no on the bill in the Senate. We need to convince these folks to vote yes to override the veto. So, here we go. These are the senators that voted against. You can see that they're right at the bottom. So we need to tell them to override the veto. Senator Burnt, that's his direct line. Senator Blaylock, Senator Burtonshaw, Senator Groh, Senator Guthrie, Senator Harris, Senator Lent. Those are the Republicans, I believe. And then you have the Democrats, Senator Robbie, Senator Semmelroth, Taylor, Van Orden. Oh, she's a Republican. Oh, these are just in alphabetical order. And Ward Engelking, Senator Wintrow, and Senator Woodward. These are their direct lines. They're on the floor right now, but light them up, folks. Light their phones up. Get their assistants who are answering those phones to just start hearing from you. Call every single one of those numbers and tell them to please override the veto, especially since the governor's letter was so weak in its argument, because the bill says nothing about the fact that teachers can't send a child home if they are sick, if they start coughing, and they call up mom and dad and say, hey, look, little Aiden here is not feeling well. You need to come pick him up. Or we discovered lice on Bella. In Bella's hair, she has lice, so you need to pick her up and bring her home. The school doesn't need to say what they need to do, right? They're not mandating that you go get a shot or that you go get a certain kind of medical intervention for whatever is ailing the child at that moment. They're simply saying, go home. Just like we've done for thousands of years, folks, go home. If you're an employer and your employee comes in sick, you can say, hey, take a sick day, go home, right? Go home. Work from home or just go home. Don't come in here sick and get everybody else sick. I mean, that's just common sense. It's what we've done all the time. And this bill does not say you can't do that. I mean, that's just absurd. So that is those are the numbers scrolling down there below. We'll have them up. Call each and every one of them. Light them up, folks. Light them up. Light up those phones. We're going to keep tabs on this. Okay. Over on where was it? The some background on 1023, because I want you to hear it from our legislators and from folks like you out there. Some of this stuff. So just to give you a quick overview, here is Representative Rob Beiswinger presenting 1023 in committee. And hopefully, we'll show this to you because hopefully he'll be able to come on to the program after the top of the hour and give us an update on his end on what he's hearing. But here's how it went in the committee when he first presented it.
1023, or the Idaho Medical Freedom Act. I'll just give a little bit on it. This takes the Coronavirus Stop Act and uses the same language and principles and applies it to all medical interventions. It's an idea whose time has come, and I wish I could take credit for writing this bill. Just a quick overview, one of the reasons I ran for office was because after the COVID stuff happened and the vaccine came out, the school in Horseshoe Bend, where I live, tried to put the students in an assembly together and tried to give the COVID shot to the students and said, hey, we won't even tell your parents about it if you'd like the shot. So that's a big motivation for me running and other health freedom kind of issues here.
Can you believe that? I mean, that's what we saw, folks. That's what we saw. We saw all sorts of outlandish reactions to during the pandemic. For a school to say like we're gonna offer you the COVID shot, you don't have to tell your parents. Holy cow, right? I mean, this is unacceptable. And many people ran. Many people woke up. You folks who are watching the show, you probably never even involved yourself in state politics before until COVID happened, until the pandemic happened. And many good folks have run for office, and now we're seeing why elections matter, because we finally have this bill, which has been tried before, to get to the governor's desk, and then the governor vetoes it on the weakest argument. I mean, I gotta say, I thought they were going to start pushing back on this whole notion that you can't tell businesses what to do, even though we tell businesses what to do all the time on how they need to do this and that. I mean, there's plenty of disagreement I have with the things that we do tell businesses what to do, but the fact that we do tell businesses what to do, and we continue to tell businesses what to do, and that's always been what this country has always done. It doesn't look like telling businesses what to do is gonna find its way overboard anytime soon. So as long as we're telling businesses what to do, why don't we tell them to not harm their customers, right? But that's not even the issue here, because most of the time the businesses didn't want to do this. The businesses say that their hands were being forced to have a vaccine mandate in their industry, right? I mean, maybe they were just throwing shade. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is that this bill will actually protect businesses. It'll say, hey, even if the government somewhere down the line starts saying we need to do X in order for you to participate in having business with us, we're not going to do that because the law is on our side. And that is what's so crucial about this bill. And school districts. And any other agency and the courts. This protects them. This protects them as much as it protects you and me. So this is a good bill. And we know it's a good bill because the governor, the only reason the governor gave was because he wanted to ensure that teachers were able to send sick kids home from school. That was the crux of his letter. That was it. Dr. Ryan Cole. Do y'all remember Dr. Ryan Cole? Idaho's very own Dr. Ryan Cole. He testified in committee on behalf of this bill, and we wanted to highlight him here because he had an interesting, and I don't think we have it, but he had an interesting Twitter post or X post a week or so ago. Once this bill passed and the governor was waiting for the governor's signature. But here is Dr. Ryan Cole in committee standing up for this bill. Let's listen.
Chair, I'm Dr. Ryan Cole. I'm an MD, Mayo Clinic trained, board certified anatomic clinical pathologist representing myself. Thank you, Doug, for allowing me this time, and thank you, Chair and committee members. Those who would give up essential liberty for a little safety, temporary safety, deserve neither liberty nor safety. Benjamin Franklin. If my pen were a needle and I said you couldn't come into this room and you don't know what's in it, and I were the higher authority, would you have come in this room today not knowing what's in it? If this piece of gum were a pill and I said you couldn't come in this room today unless you take this pill and you don't know what's in it, would you have come into this room today? If this lip balm were a cream that I said you have to apply on your body before you come into this room today, and I declare myself a higher authority, would you have come into the room today? I highly doubt it, because your bodily autonomy is what matters over anything. Any medical intervention has risk. And where there is risk, there must be choice. A mandate takes away choice. I've heard a lot of stuff about vaccines, this, that, and the other. This isn't about vaccines. This bill is about medical autonomy, the authority of you over your own body and nobody else. Since when does a business have a medical license, a license to practice medicine? How many businesses in this state for years practice medicine without a license? How many schools are trying to practice medicine without a license? Spent 17 years of my life after high school to earn the degree I have, and I don't know everything. None of us do. But we sure got it wrong during COVID for 5 years. And that was 5 years of intervention on the human body with things that didn't work in retrospect. What we're trying to do is protect the bodily freedom and autonomy of the citizens of this fantastic state. Thank you so much.
What a great guy that guy is. I mean, so well-spoken, so reasoned. Idaho is extremely lucky to have him here. Not only fighting on behalf of our individual rights and certainly in the medical arena, but just to have his knowledge and stuff at our fingertips here in Idaho is very good. And he's exactly right. Look, folks, we just want to be well informed, right? No one is, I don't want to say no one, but I mean, me personally, I'm not against vaccines. I'm not against medical advancements, right? We just need to know what's in them. You have to be informed, and you certainly can't be forced to take something in order to participate, right? I mean, that's it. We can all agree on that, whether you're like, the biggest vaccine advocate out there, or whether you're the biggest skeptic on vaccines out there. I'm certainly both can agree that no one should be forced to take one in order to participate in society, just in basic society, I know when you go into the military, you've signed your body over basically to the government, and the government says you got to take this to serve and go overseas and go over. I mean, I have so many military guys. They're like, dude, I've been stabbed and jabbed with so many things. I have no idea what's in my body at this point. But you know what? They're still living. They're still here. So there's something to be said for that, perhaps, as they travel the world. But that being said, once again, like, it's just this is just about making sure that nobody is forcing you to undergo any sort of medical intervention in order to participate in society. It's the basic thing, and we saw those rights being violated over and over again. Okay, so the interesting thing, especially here in our neck of the woods, is that there was a big, so the veto happened, right? The veto happened, and it happened on Saturday, and that happened to be the day that a lot of legislators were meeting up north in Kootenai County for a town hall debate. Now, in Kootenai County, there's many legislative districts that cover Kootenai County, and so you had a lot of legislators. I think is it 9 or 12 legislators that show up at at the Kootenai County town hall, and not everybody was there, but I think a good healthy portion or so, about 10 or so, showed up for this, and the subject of this veto came up, and we were lucky enough to have a clip from there. So let's listen to that.
Senate Bill 1023 was just vetoed this morning. What are the next steps? Is it veto proof?
It is in the House. I don't think it is in the Senate. Senate only had 19 in favor, I believe. So they don't have enough votes to override the veto unless they use the power of the procedure.
Can you explain 1023 briefly, just as a help for the room, so that everyone knows what we're talking about?
So I'll just say broadly, 1023, Senate Bill 1023 is taking what we did with saying there can't be the stuff what we did with COVID restrictions and broadening it so it applies to all medical procedures. So you can't have forced medical procedures mandated on you as a provider or a business, yeah. So that's just broadly what it does. And as far as the House has the numbers, the Senate, I received a text up here already and requesting a list of who we can go to try to convince them to help with the override. So we don't have the numbers based on who voted for it. That doesn't mean that we can't whip the votes and try to get those numbers. It'll be an uphill battle.
And I'll just briefly say, so 1023 came through the Health and Welfare Committee, and it was, in my opinion, an excellent bill. It did just provide for medical freedom for individuals throughout our state. There was a lot of national publicity on it as well, including, when DeSantis was visiting with us, he was like, hey, I love that medical freedom bill. There was, it probably fits really well in line with the RFK initiatives. So there's a lot of national support for it. And again, I think in the House, we will be able to override that veto. However, the Senate will have a little bit more difficulty. But, I think the grassroots can kind of stimulate some of that and try to, get senators from around the state to look to override that veto if it is something that they truly care about and this state cares about.
I might just add a little bit here. Just a little bit of procedure. Basically, it's a Senate bill, so if the legislature attempts to override that bill, it has to be started in the Senate. So we will know right away if they attempt to do it because it's a Senate bill. There's something to be said in the whole procedure. If the governor overrules the legislature, basically, suddenly it becomes more important than the bill. Suddenly you're looking at, basically, this was the will of the legislature, and the question is, will the legislators and senators stand up for the process and support an override or not? I've actually seen where we had what I thought was a done deal, a veto-proof majority in the Senate one time on a bill. After the governor vetoed it, 5 senators changed the other way, and they were not able to override. So we actually did override a bill a couple of years ago. That's the first one in my 13 years. So, and so who knows, but we'll see.
Yes, we will see. We certainly will see. Folks, scrolling there at the bottom is those senators who voted no on the Idaho Medical Freedom Act. This is where you need to get activated, everybody. Call your senators right now. We are live. We are live. The senators are currently on the Senate floor. I want their phones ringing so loud that they hear it on their floor. Get those phones ringing. Call up those senators. Senator Blaylock, Senator Burtonshaw, Senator Groh. These folks down here scrolling at the bottom, they voted no. And they need to turn their vote around and override the governor's veto, especially in light of the governor's reason. I've seen many people that probably would have maybe have supported this bill look at Governor Little's reason for the veto and say, that's kind of a weak argument. That's a little bit of a stretch for if that's the only reason why. And so therefore, support the process. You're the legislature. You're the ones that make these rules. And the body has spoken. The House has an overwhelming majority. You heard Elaine Price in that clip there say that they have the votes in the House. But in the Senate, it's going to take at least, I think 5. It's going to take 5. Well, one was absent. Senator Ben Adams was absent for the initial vote. but for all intents and purposes, everybody is saying that he would have voted aye. I don't think he's on record as saying he would have voted aye, but he's never really indicated that he wouldn't be for this type of thing. So Senator Adams would be the vote number 20, and then you need 4 more votes. You need 24 votes in the Senate to override. So you need 4 more of these senators scrolling there at the bottom to override and come on to the side of preserving your freedom, folks. That's what this is all about. That's what it's all about. All right. What was the other thing I wanted to say about that? The comments are coming in. Damon says that Ben Adams, throw that one up. Damon says that Ben Adams was a former Marine. Was that the one that was just up? Yeah, he's a former Marine. So he knows all about having your body jabbed and stuff. So anyway. All right, folks, it looks like the House has adjourned, and hopefully that means if they don't go into a caucus, or if Representative Beiswinger doesn't get stopped in the halls, that he will join us sometime after this break that we're headed back into. And the Senate continues to debate other bills right now. They're on Senate Bill 1202, which I don't know exactly what it is, but I'll let you know when we come back. So we'll take a short break. We'll be right back.
It's our job to maintain the proper role of government and what we were tasked to do.
The dictionary defines a pledge as something that you give as a sign that you'll keep a promise. As Idahoans, that's what we're looking for in our elected leaders. A sign that they'll keep their word. Talk is cheap, and so are political promises, hidden agendas, and special interests. This is why we created the Citizens Alliance of Idaho Pledge, affirming the values Idahoans have been living by for over 100 years, inspired by the only 2 documents everyone has agreed to live by. So when an Idaho legislator signs our pledge, inviting voters to publicly hold them accountable, that's what we call political integrity. The pledge restores trust and honesty between voters and their legislators. It means protecting our shared values and ensuring your voice is heard in Boise. And that is priceless. Thank your legislator for having the political courage to sign the Citizens Alliance of Idaho Pledge. And if they haven't, it's time to ask why.
Okay, we'll be waiting. We don't have him yet, but we'll be waiting for Representative Rob Beiswinger to come in and talk about what might be going on behind the scenes in terms of this veto in the Senate. He's obviously in the House, but the Senate is still on the floor debating bills. They've got a long day today. They got a lot of stuff to do in the Senate, and this is just adding one more element to it, is this veto. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing that I do want to say, one more thing about this bill, is that because the governor's issue is so minor, that if the veto doesn't happen, there is a backup plan, which is to simply run the bill again and add a line that says, basically if a teacher feels that a child is sick or needs to be home, or they need to send their employee home, that they can do so. They have to word it correctly so that the other side doesn't say, well, you can send someone home for anything, or it's just like this is the political political dance that goes on all the time, the jabbing back and forth. But there has to be some sort of fix, or we keep yelling at the governor, says this has nothing to do with this bill, and then run it through again and get him to sign it. But the point being is that if the veto should not happen, if the override of the veto should not happen, there is a way to write language into this bill that would satisfy the governor's veto reason, get it through the House and the Senate, even particularly along the same lines. It can still pass and get to the governor's desk, and basically say, well, here you go, Governor. Are you ready to sign it now? And if he was bluffing, then we'll know. But if he's acting in good faith, then he'll sign it. One thing that was very interesting, though, we've heard, is that the governor never, apparently, and maybe we can confirm this with Rob with Beiswinger, is that the governor didn't really ever reach out to the sponsors of the bill. Usually, when the governor has an issue with the bill, before he vetoes it, he'll talk to the legislators who were supporting it and find out if there's something that they can do. But apparently, that didn't happen in this case, and so we'll find out more, hopefully. Okay. Again, the numbers down below are the numbers that are the senators that voted no on this bill. We want you to call them. We want you to call them and tell them to turn their vote around and help support an override of the governor's veto. Okay. What else happened today? What were we going to jump into this morning? We're kind of shifting gears. We'll shift gears here very briefly as we kind of go through this, because this was a fascinating thing that I know a lot of folks out there are extremely. Either you really just don't care, or you care a lot. And I think as a citizen organization, we do care. I mean, citizens do care where all this money and all this influence that happens in politics comes, right? When you look at all of the money that pours into politics federally, nationally, even locally, and you start seeing who the power players are in your community, and if you pay attention to that sort of thing, then you can see, what is influencing politics, right? What businesses are everybody always talks about, like, oh, look at Big Pharma donating all this money to that legislator, and then that legislator goes on to vote for this, or this industry is pouring money into these legislators, and look at how they cater to their needs. And so it's very, having sunshine laws, having transparency is very important to figure out where all this money is flowing, both on the left and on the right. It's very important. And so we do have sunshine laws in Idaho, but one of the things that Senator Doug Econowitz wanted to do was to have even more transparency, if using the term, in tracing money back through organization. So let me set this up for you right now. So and I can kind of speak from experience here, because part of the things that I do is help run a political action committee, a PAC, that supports and spends money on behalf of either negatively or positively against candidates during an election season. And so you get donations from all over the place, and those donations are they're made public, right? Who's spending money here? Who donated to you for a political cause? This bill would have said, not only do you have to disclose your personal donors that are donating directly to you, but if another organization donates to your organization, we need to know who was donating to that organization. Now, if that's an outside group, like a nationally recognized organization, they have to register federally. And at the federal level, you still have to disclose your donors as well. So it may not be as easy to go onto an Idaho website and trace the money all the way back to the federal level. You may have to do, if you're really interested in knowing who the federal donors are, you may have to go to a federal website and look it up there. This is wanted to sort of bring in that donor trail into the system, so that way it's much easier for you to follow along here. So there was a bill this morning that was presented this morning, Senate Bill 1186, that sought to do that sort of thing. However, it also wanted to know things about, like, the private donations that happen in private things, like a 501c4 or a 501c3 that may donate money to a political cause. This bill said, well, we want to know who those people are too. So there was a lot of pushback back and forth on free speech, disclosing donors to private organizations and the such. So we've got some clips from that we want to get to, and we will. However, the man of the hour, one of the men of the hour, I believe, is joining us here. Representative Rob Beiswinger is here. There he is. Good to see you, Representative. I'm glad we could finally make this happen. I know it's it's been wild down there. The session's been, your session's been going into lunch, and by the time you're ready to come on, we're off the air. But I'm glad we got to connect today. So yeah, the big veto that happened on Saturday, just hours before it would have gone into law, Senate Bill 1023, the Idaho Medical Freedom Act. We've been talking about it for the first half part of the hour here. What is your state of mind at the moment? And tell us a little bit about how you heard about how this happened.
Well, I mean, yeah. So the bill was like passed.
Oh, your volume's very low. Is that just me, guys? Just want to make sure it's coming from your microphone, not your laptop or anything.
It's here on my mic and my headphones here. Is that any better?
Okay, is he too quiet, guys?
Is that better?
Yeah, it's still really quiet. I'm everybody else is saying that too. I don't think it's the microphone. It might just be the settings. We'll get it. It's a bit of a trick sometimes. All right, guys. Well, let's take him off screen here. We can leave his audio on and see if it gets better.
All right. Any better there?
Oh, there we go. Yeah, much better. Much better.
Huh. Well, I hit one setting. I didn't.
Although now the video's going out. We'll see if he comes back in. Yeah, here's the letter from Governor Little that we've been sharing. Is that him coming in? Hey, it's live, folks. We're live. Your audio sounded good for a moment, Representative, and then we lost it.
Is it better now?
No, it's back to the original.
Huh. Because I hit this one automatically adjust mic volume, and it looked like it worked. That's when you told me it worked.
And then it went away.
Then I hit the wrong button to kick me off the screen. But,
oh, gotcha. You guys think it's good now?
How about that?
I'm trying to get word from. Well. Yeah, now I don't hear anything. It's.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that sounds much better. What do you think, guys? That sounds better. Yeah, keep talking. Let's go. If you heard my question, Representative, let's give it a whirl here. When did you first learn about this veto, and what do you think the next steps are? Oh, now you're completely silent. Oh no. I'm sorry. Okay. We so many people want to hear from Rob Beiswinger. It just we're gonna suffer through this, folks. Don't worry about it.
Can you not hear me at all now?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay. So, yeah, we heard about the governor on Saturday morning, which was the final day he had to decide it. It officially landed on his desk at like 11:30 on Monday. So he had 5 days, including Saturday, to get it signed or vetoed. Did I lose you again?
No, we can hear you. Go right ahead. Yeah.
It got quiet. So anyway, so the whole week been kind of waiting. It was an interesting week because Ron DeSantis was here on last Monday, asked to talk about a different issue, and with Governor Little sitting right next to him, goes, "Hey, I heard you guys push through his health freedom bill. That's really exciting." Amongst a few other things, he was excited to see Idaho putting some good Republican conservative legislation through, and so that was there. And you could tell Little was a little bit awkward on it, and I know this is not necessarily his issue necessarily, but also
you got the whole Robert F. Kennedy thing going on these days in D.C., the Make America Healthy Again movement. That's big right now. A lot of the new folks like the health freedom stuff going on here in the legislature, plus the new people moving into the state, I would argue. And then rural Labrador came out on Monday, said, hey, I think this bill should become law, and I was excited for it. So, he's a big heavyweight in the state, for anyone who might not know. So it was looking, from that standpoint, kind of good. And, the governor didn't call me or Senator Foreman. Foreman's the Senate sponsor of it. And, so we kind of thought, well, no news is good news, I guess, right? But we didn't really know. And then we got to Saturday morning, and Foreman gives me a call, says, hey, I just got the phone with the governor. He's kind of apologetic, but he vetoed it and said he had a few concerns on it. And then the governor issued a press release, which most of you have probably seen. And in it, he says, well, there's the same language that was used in the floor debates, basically, that there's some confusion as to whether schools would be able to legally send home someone who has measles, lice, or God knows what else they might be infected with, that schools would be prohibited from sending people home. And which was just kind of a head scratcher here, because if anyone had bothered to watch any of the debates in the committee hearings on the floor, that issue was addressed. I mean, just to give some perspective, this bill is 2 pages. The one page is definitions. The second page is the bill. I mean, really, you could boil this bill down to 1 paragraph, because then there's just some exceptions. Well, we're going to exempt you for this, and well, we're going to, this doesn't conflict with federal law, and these sort of things we just put in bills to make people happy, but they don't really accomplish anything. So really, the bill is very simple. You just can't have any medical interventions. So it doesn't really address the issue at all, whether you can send someone home or not. It's silent on it, which that means that the current law would stand. Well, there is a current law. And I forget the number. It's like 33-512 or something. I have the number here somewhere, but I'll probably drop your call again if I try and play with my phone. So I won't dive into it, but I can get it to you. And there is a code that exists that, if a kid has an infectious disease, it's already in code. There's really no problem here. And it's so frustrating, because if he was interested in signing it, you think he might have just given one of us a phone call. We could have answered this very easily. It was a no-brainer, that kind of thing.
So well, that's great to know that there's another section of code that talks about sending kids home or something like that. So let's just gameplay this out. If the veto doesn't happen and you need to rerun this bill again, would it be as simple as saying nothing in this bill affects 33 whatever it was, because that if that's already, I mean, that's even this makes this argument even more weak that stuff was already in the statute. Would that be the way to go?
I mean, we could put some legislative intent sentence in there. If I had to rewrite the bill, we could do it. I guess at the same time, though, I mean, do we have to put every code that this doesn't affect into a law, or can we just have a conversation where you say, here's the law you're worried about, and it's already addressed. There's no need to put it in this bill either. So we could, but I'm kind of silly too.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, and maybe that's the argument that people need to make when they call up their senators. We've got the numbers scrolling down below, folks. Call up your senator. Say, hey, the governor's issue with this bill is already taken care of in this statute, and in another statute, and maybe we can get our trusty producers to find that statute. You said it was. Did I recall? So yeah, what is it?
So the Idaho Code. Assuming I'm saying this correctly, it's 33-512. 33-512.
Okay, 33-512.
And then if you go down to Section 7, it says to exclude from schools pupils with contagious or infectious diseases who are diagnosed or suspected as having a contagious or infectious disease, or those who are not immune, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, it's right there. I don't.
Yeah, 33-512. Fantastic. All right, folks. We'll pull a screenshot of that and read it out to everybody so they can see it as well. That's great. Oh, there it is. Look at that. Perfect. That's it there. I don't have my glasses. Yeah, we'll get it up there. 512. Perfect.
Yeah,
all right, guys.
In all the debate we had on the floor was, you could, if you saw someone had lice in them, which is not even a disease really, but
that's a different issue. But if you had someone with lice, you could ask them to leave, but you just can't require them to say, hey, you need to go home, take this injection, or use the shampoo, or whatever. The people still get to choose their treatment. That's all
Right.
we're after here.
Right, exactly. And like you said, you kind of pointed out here, which made me think about the Bill of Rights and even the Constitution itself. Our country was founded on the idea that when we write laws regarding our rights, that they're like negative rights, right? It's the things that the government can't do. The First Amendment, the government can't restrict your free speech. The Second Amendment, the government can't take away your guns. The Third Amendment, the government can't put military into your homes, right? The Fourth Amendment, the government can't search you without search and privacy rights and that sort of thing. So this is basically the same thing. The government can't do medical intervention on you. It almost feels like this should be in our Constitution, not just our statute.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's that big, and I think that we need to get our society to a point where we basically accept it like that. Japan, for instance, I don't know if this is still the case. Years ago, when I was reading stuff about vaccine policy and so forth, I mean, Japan, they will pay for every vaccine that you can get over there, but they are very explicit. We will not coerce anybody in any way. We don't shame them for not getting it. They're very just sort of like, okay. And honestly, you build trust that way. And we have a big trust deficit with a lot of institutions, but particularly with our medical institutions here. I mean, the hospitals and with the trans stuff and this, the compulsory vaccination stuff. I mean, people really are pretty weary about them right now. And having it be just more free and open and transparent with RFK's working on, I think actually will bring back some trust there, which will be better in the long run for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so then, I mean, what's your prediction? What are you hearing on the floor or in the halls when it comes to these senators? Or some of them, do you feel like some of them are going to flip from their no to help override this veto?
Well, I'm not an expert in the Senate. I've only been down here 3 months. Senator Foreman's the guy for that. I mean, he told me he's optimistic that he can get this done, and he's delivered so far. I mean, if you'd called me last year and said, "Can we get a bill like this for the Senate?" then we can't even ban mask mandates so far. So it seems like a pretty tall requirement. So, I mean, he's the man, and I'm going to let him do his thing. I'll help him every way I can. Obviously, all the phone calls and emails, people are noticing, and they're getting some pressure here. I've got a couple guys in the House that I think are going to flip if we get to that point. So I think we'll have more than 47 votes here in the House should we get another chance at this because of the pressure on it.
Yeah, that's great because we remember the story that broke, after that vote that Representative Lori McCann sent out an email saying she was going to try and whip votes to sustain the veto. But you're telling me there's some folks that voted no before that might come the other way too. So that's good news.
Yeah, and so if somebody's sick or something happens or one other or somebody does flip, if you've got a room for error there now, with another extra vote there. The Senate's tough. You basically have 20 votes there. You had 19 when it happened previously. Senator Adams was absent, but he's rock solid on the issue here. The original Stop Corona bill actually was his. I
right.
It. And then, so that's 20. So you need 4. You get it to 24. That's a lot. That's like that's 10% of the Senate, essentially. So it's not taken for granted, certainly. But there are some people I think to be moved over there. It's what the word I'm getting here. And I think just the public outcry on this thing, this issue becomes radioactive. I think some people are going to think twice about it. And I think they're going to see that the complaint against it is easily debunked.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Representative, any last things that you just tell the people what they need to do right now if they're watching and they want to help some way. What can we do?
Yeah, phone calls, emails, especially to your senators to get that going here. You can retweet things on X or Twitter, Facebook. Just get the word out. I mean, now's the time. The legislature's running out. We might be done in a week or so, but really we need that override the Senate like as soon as possible, maybe even today or tomorrow. So really just ask you not to hesitate. If you feel strong about the issue, now is the time.
Yeah, very good. All right, folks. Representative Beiswinger is with us. I'll let you go get some lunch, sir, and we'll check back in with you again.
Thanks, sir. Good to be with you.
All right, take care. All right, I want to pull this 33-5112. Can you guys link it to me so I can bring it up on my system over here? That's great. Thank you. But let's pull it up again if we can, and just show everybody that this apparently here is what will cause us to push back on the governor's veto here. There it is. The guys have highlighted it. That is line number 7. What is this title here? This is really big. District Title 33, Chapter 5, District Trustees. If you go all the way down to number 7, it says here, to exclude from from school pupils with contagious or infectious diseases who are diagnosed or suspected as having a contagious or infectious disease, or those who are not immune and have been exposed to a contagious or infectious disease, and to close school if the board determines that conditions warrant such closure, based on consultation with the district health department of the public health district in which the school district is located. So that's already in statute. This bill does not refer to this this part of statute at all. The Idaho Medical Freedom Act does not refer to this at all. So that part of the statute would remain as it should. If there is a huge outbreak of some sort of contagious disease at the school, they'll shut down the school, and we've seen that happen in the past before, but you can't just mandate. This is all about mandating medical intervention. That's all that this is. The Idaho Medical Freedom Act says you can't mandate medical intervention in order to participate. That's it. So, I don't know. I think there's a pretty strong case here to be made. We're glad to see that out there. So folks, call your senators, call them up, direct them to this part of the statute that says it doesn't relate to the Idaho Medical Freedom Act. And we'll go from there. So that's very good. So yeah, do your own research on this, folks. Do your own research. That's what we're here to try and encourage you to do at all times. Okay. Well, we were going to get into the that bill, Senate Bill 1186, but thankfully we were able to get Rob on here, and then we had to suffer through some technical difficulties. But that happens when you're live. It happens. But let's throw up our latest In the Know Idaho video. We do have time for that. Lily Almond and her team hard at work in the culture war. So, and it is tax season, folks. We're about 15 days away from you having to file your taxes. And here's what you need to know.
Well, it's tax season again. My annual reminder that I, in fact, do not live in a very free country anymore.
Tax season is almost upon us. Our conservative brothers and sisters, misgendered, our conservative folks around the community, they don't seem to want to pay their taxes, which is silly. I'm a firm believer that taxes are all for the common good.
It's so depressing to think about everything that my tax dollars are going towards, all the nonsense I'm funding. They're slowly turning us into a socialist dictatorship.
Taxes are all about the most equitable way that you can redistribute wealth from those who overproduce too much to those that deserve much but have little. I mean, it sure would make sense if people paid more, because then folks like me could have a better life.
I believe in hard work and self-sufficiency, so I only like the government to collect the bare minimum amount of taxes. There's no need for me to be paying for somebody else and doing all their work for them. I don't need nobody but me. I don't even have running water or electricity, so I rely on wood to keep me warm in the winter.
I think that there are a lot of really useful things that we could be doing with our tax money, like wage increases for politicians. They just don't get paid enough. It's not like they make enough from their stock market investments to really make a living.
Income tax itself wasn't even a thing until the early 1900s, and it was supposed to be temporary. So why in the world are we still putting up with this?
I'm thinking maybe we also send more money overseas, because Ukraine really doesn't have the cards right now.
And when you think of all the crazy stuff that the taxes go to, it just makes you want to not work, which is actually why lower taxes increases production, increases revenue, stimulates the economy. But that's a whole other thing. We can get into that later.
Many thoughts and blessings towards our beloved professionals at the IRS. You guys are really helping us out, and maybe, you know, one of these days we'll make America the socialist paradise it was always meant to be.
Good luck finding that, IRS agents.
Taxes are a scam! The government's a scam! Wake up! Wake up!
Are you kidding me? Was I on mute the whole time? Oh dear. That was some good stuff. I got nothing to say. I already used it when my mic was muted. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Take care.
Bill, I think it puts a stake in the ground that says we have a sovereign right to protect